RadioOnFire.com. Yours truly, Dominic K, in here. Coming off the weekend, and a lot of things going on, of course, around the city, around the country. A lot of things going on, and we are going to talk about things. We'll talk about, I guess in the second hour, we're going to talk about the Ravens. We're going to talk about some entertainment things in the second hour. But in the first hour, we're going to be talking politics. We're going to be talking Baltimore City, Baltimore County, that kind of stuff. Nikki, you got a mic, right? So, of course, I also want to talk about the app. We're going to be launching the Android and the Apple app on 31st. So this is going to be a brand new app. Nikki, how was your weekend and all that stuff?
It was awesome. It's
Awesome. So you were out of town. I'm told you were out of town.
Yes, I was out of town.
So give us a short version. Where did you go? What did you do?
What? I was in
Give
NOLA.
me the short version. The short version.
NOLA girls trip, and what happens in NOLA stays in NOLA.
Okay. Your mic might be a little loud.
Okay.
I'm joking. Okay, so you had a girls trip
Yes.
to New Orleans.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Had fun?
Yes, had fun.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, definitely.
New Orleans? Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. I have not been to New Orleans before. Almost went once. Did I ever tell you about this? All right, so people that don't know, I almost went, had a trip set up. This is when I was living in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And we had a trip set up. We were going there. We had all types of things planned, right?
Okay.
And it was like a couples thing.
Okay.
So me, Jay, his now wife, mm-hmm. and I found some Southern girl in Atlanta to accompany me on this excursion.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And the day that we were supposed to leave, across the screen, they talk about this upcoming hurricane flood, which was Hurricane Katrina. Okay, and so we were like, okay, maybe we should still go. They were like, we should still go. Jay's wife like, no, we should go. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a little bit of rain. We could go through it. I'm like, I don't know. I had a bad feeling about it.
Okay,
and we decided not to go. Mm-hmm. Where we were going to stay, we would have been one of them people on the roof, because when I looked at where we were staying versus the impact of the hurricane,
right,
we'd have been on the roof. It would have been crazy. You might not even never knew me, right? And I'm so glad. So after that, I've been completely sour to the idea of going. Because I didn't know what the levees was like. Okay. And then you're going in it's hurricane season right now.
Yes, it is. And it's fine.
Well,
you have other months to go that aren't hurricane season. We're going to have to fix that. We're going to have to fix that.
I don't know. When Birdman left, I said, maybe I don't even need to be down here.
What? You know what?
So I went to the all black party at Diamonds Event Center.
Okay, how was that?
And we had Ice in here last week talking about that, and they gave an award to DJ Scotty B. That was nice. Got the chance to see him and Sean Marshall and Titan and Kenny K. Just a host of people that I don't get a chance to see often. A lot of DJs, a lot of people. So the parking lot, I've never been in the parking lot when it was that crowded before.
Oh, wow.
So the parking was so crazy. I parked so far away from the actual venue. But it was great turnout. It was nice. People abided by the dress code and wore black.
That's
that was
always
good.
Nice. Right.
Music was nice. Got a chance to see a lot of people. It was really nice. So I posted some videos from there so people can check that out. But it was really good. And no fights. Here's an interesting thing that I noticed. Women were wearing shoes that they could only wear in 20-minute intervals. So they had shoes on, and then like they were taking pictures, or they were doing stuff, and then it looked like they were mashing bread.
What?
You know what I mean? Their feet, like it was.
Stop.
No, maybe I'm being extreme, but
yes.
when she took her shoe off, you could see the complete imprint of the shoe on her foot, and she just had her feet out.
Oh
so she's
gosh.
walking around with no shoes on.
No.
But that aside from that, it did not smell like feet. But aside from that, it was fine. I'm not a foot person, specifically. But if I was a foot person, I would not have liked her feet.
Okay.
Not the feet for me. So we're going to be sitting down. Of course, we've been talking to some candidates here in Baltimore City for the mayor's race, and today we're going to talk to somebody who is in the city council race. And a lot of people, and I've gotten some questions. People don't know what the city council, what do they do?
Okay.
What does a member of the city council, what is their job?
Right.
So we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
But more importantly, I want to talk to Mr. Conaway about his vision for the District 10th District. And do you know where District 10 is?
We're in it, right? Are we in it? Where is it? Explain.
What district is this? No, we're not in it.
Okay. Well, explain. Where's the 10th district? Tell us.
It's in Baltimore. Okay.
You know what?
Brooklyn is in the 10th district. Cherry Hill.
Okay.
Westport, Curtis Bay, Pigtown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just giving you an idea of where that is.
Okay.
You've been through those parts before.
Yes.
Okay, and so we're gonna talk about, like I said, the city council, what a city council person does. There's an incumbent in this area. We're gonna talk a little bit about that, but I have some issues that are hot topics for the city, and I want to talk to Ray Conaway about that. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back with our guest, and we'll do that. Take a quick break and come back. Okay? Okay, we are back. RadioOnFire.com. Yours truly, Dominic K. in here. Radio on Fire News Network. Glad to be back from the weekend. That was Put Your Leg Up, streaming on all iTunes, Tidal, etc., etc., etc. So I have a special guest in the building, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, please.
Appreciate it. So my name is Ray Conaway, and I am a candidate for City Council in Baltimore's 10th District. I was overhearing some of your talk just a few moments ago about what it is that a City Council person does, so I'm really looking forward to getting into that conversation, because you're right, there are a lot of folks all across our city, not just in my district, but all across our city who are unaware of the workings of our city council and what are the specific details and workings of a city council person. So I'm delighted to be here and excited to dive into this conversation.
Absolutely. Let's start right there.
Sure.
From your understanding, what is the what are the duties? What is a city council person?
Sure. So I'm a teacher by trade. And the way that I always break this down when I talk with a student is, of course, our city council is our legislative branch of government. And what that requires is that our city council is responsible for passing the legislation that is eventually signed into law by our mayor. Most notably, the most important piece of legislation that our city council passes is our budget, our fiscal budget that starts on the 1st of July and runs through January the 30th. And in that budget encompasses every single dollar that's going to go towards programs like Youth Works, money that goes towards funding our police department, funding a portion of our public school system, funding our recreation centers, making sure that our trash is picked up, making sure that our potholes are covered. All of that and more is encompassed in our city budget. But, the argument can be made that the number one responsibility of any city council person is the responsibility of constituent services. So when there is a pothole that develops on your block, when your trash didn't get picked up, when the rec center has been closed around the way for too many years, you call your council person up and you say, hey, look, I need you to address this. Do what you can. I know you can't make miracles overnight. Some people don't say that. Some people do want miracles overnight.
Yes.
But do what you can because this is
right
really
now.
miracles right now. But do what you can because we really need this addressed. So that in a nutshell is our.
You said that well.
Person.
And when you explain that to people, they have to understand that this is an important position.
Absolutely.
This is a very important position for wherever you live. You should know who your council person is, know how to get in contact with your council person.
Absolutely.
So I want to start at the beginning. First, where are you from?
Born and raised in Baltimore. I actually grew up in the 10th District. I split my childhood between Emerson Village and Pigtown.
Okay.
But I went to elementary school in Pigtown. It's where my mom's side of my family's from. Dad's side of the family's from Emerson Village. And I played baseball in Pigtown. Like I said, elementary school, family and friends deeply rooted in Pigtown. So I'm a Baltimore native through and through, born, raised, and educated.
Well, that's surprising. I'd say that's surprising. Yeah, and here's why I say that. Because I've talked with a lot of people who are running for office who are not from here. Okay?
Hey.
They ain't from here. Okay? Now, listen, you can come to the city, you can fall in love with the city, and that's amazing.
Sure.
But it is good to sit down and talk with someone who is from here. And, so just let me say that. Why are you running for city council?
I'm running for city council because here's an opportunity to really put forward some new leadership in this 10th district. You mentioned earlier in the first half of the segment that there's an incumbent in the seat. Well, the incumbent is retiring, and the incumbent is retiring after 2 decades plus of service.
Yeah, it's been there since 91.
The city council.
Yeah,
that's longer than I've been alive.
Okay.
So when the opportunity came up, I really sat down with myself, sat down with my family, and I said, here's what's at stake. I always say that great schools, safe neighborhoods are non-negotiable. And when I'm blessed to serve as the next council person for Baltimore's 10th district, that's going to be a standard that I want to set. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to focus throughout this campaign, focusing on real people and real issues. And that's talking to folks, talking to residents who are maybe they're upset, maybe they're want a better job to be done about city government. That's why I'm in this race. I want to take the real issues with real people and take those to City Hall.
Okay. What led you to politics?
So for anyone who is an observer of city politics, my name is very familiar. The Conaway family has been in city politics for 4 decades.
True.
But many folks will be surprised when I tell them that wasn't my intro to politics. My intro to politics came, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was home one evening with my dad, and we were just flipping through the channels one day, and we flipped past the Democratic convention. And it was the summer of 2004, and anybody who knows what I'm about to mention knows what I'm about to talk about. There was this guy giving the keynote address at the 2004 Democratic Convention.
So you were flipping through, or did someone tell you need to watch this?
No, I was flipping through. No one told me about this. And
Okay.
we were flipping through the channels, and there was then State Senator Barack Obama running for the U.S. Senate for the state of Illinois, and he was giving the keynote address to the Democratic National Convention. And I told my dad, like, hey, stop. I got to see who this guy is. I was just so amazed with his charisma, what he was talking about. And I was like, who is this guy? What is he doing? What does he do? I want to know who this guy is. And that was the introduction for me.
What was it about Mr. Obama that really pulled you in? You were a young guy at this time.
I was 9 years old. At the very beginning of President Obama's speech, and I can't quote it verbatim right now because I don't have the actual text of it. But he said, he talked about the promise of America and the promise that it holds for a skinny kid with a funny name, Barack Obama. And I thought, oh, Barack Obama, Raekwon Conaway. Like, oh, okay, I feel that. And then he began to talk about the promise of what could be, what public service could be for all across the country. And again, it was just, who's this guy? Where is he from? What is he doing? I got to know more about him. And when I, got to school next day, I had to pull out a book to learn about how our political system worked. I had to go deep dive into our history to learn about the political activists and the social activists throughout our history who have made footprints that will never be filled again, and really sit and say, I think I can make an impact through this. And so I'm going to get the education to study this. I'm going to make the connections to study this, because this is how we make change.
Absolutely. So from what you know about the current city council person, has he been doing a good job?
Yeah, when I get asked that question, I always say that the incumbent council person has steady leadership. And what I mean by that is the current incumbent, Councilman Ed Reisinger, has done a very good job of keeping a steady and calm leadership over the 10th district. There has been a lot of progress that has been made in the council in the 10th district. And if you want to talk about empirical evidence of what that looks like, we've had 2 new schools built in Cherry Hill, Friendship Elementary, known as 159, Arundel Elementary, completely built from the ground up. We've got one that's expected to be completed early part of 2020 in Baybrook Elementary, about a few blocks from my house. New state-of-the-art recreation center in Morrow Park, state-of-the-art center that is slated to be begin construction sometime next year in Cherry Hill. It's supposed to be the greatest in the city. All of this progress that has been made. That's why I truly commend him for his steady leadership. And the reason why I'm running is because I think it's time we take that leadership to a greater height.
Okay. I liked that. I liked your answer for that. And I think that it is good because of your answer. I can tell that you're not a mudslinger. You don't want to get down in the dirt.
Yeah.
But this is a dirty game. Are you going to be okay in this?
Listen, I knew what I signed up for when I filed to run for office. I knew, you're right, it's a dirty game, and people, they go through your history, they go through your family's history, and all of that. For me, I've had very strong support systems in my parents and family members, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, brothers. I'm the second oldest of 4 boys. So I've had a sense of maturity at an early age, and I've had a good sense of knowing what's right and what's wrong. So you can case search me all you want. It's going to come up blank.
Yeah.
I failed math one time in college, but hey, who hasn't? But other than that, you're not going to catch much.
Yeah.
So I'm very well aware of the circumstance that comes with running for office. But this is what you sign up for. What matters most is how you come out on top.
As far as transparency and accountability, how important is that to you?
I think for any elected official or any public official, that should be at the core of your moral compass.
Should be.
Absolutely.
Should be.
And when what I would urge residents to do is, if the person that has come to your door and told you, I'm running for this office, I want to serve you in this position, ask them about transparency and accountability. And if the answer is so-so, then so-so is their transparency and their accountability. For me, it's absolutely important, because as a city council person and for elected officials on the state, local, and the federal level, when someone votes for you, that's not just a number. Someone's entrusting you. Someone's putting trust in you that you're going to advocate, you're going to fight for them, you're going to make quality of life better for them. And with that has to be transparency and accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that something that this city has been lacking in its leadership?
Now, you liked how I answered the other question.
I did.
And I'm just going to be straight up with this one. No, we're not doing a good job. Like I said, I'm a teacher by trade. If I had to give our city a grade on transparency and accountability, it'd be a C. We're not doing a good job of it. Certainly, there are things that need to be tightened up and reforms that need to be made. And when I am blessed to serve and represent the people of the 10th District, I want to meet with the advocates. I want to meet with the pro-transparency groups, the pro-accountability groups, to say, how can I use my leverage as a city council person to increase, strengthen, and heighten transparency and accountability in our city government?
Yeah, it's something that is needed. We have a lot of money that's been mismanaged.
Sure.
And the schools are suffering, the city's suffering. I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about something that it's been a hot topic for debate for some time now, and that is the squeegee kids. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on squeegee kids?
On my way here, I was on Martin Luther King and Washington Boulevard, and I was going to pick up my dry cleaning from Zips Dry Cleaners, and squeegee kid came to my window. I told him, good, and didn't need my window washed, and he just had, he said, is there anything you could give me? And I've worked in youth development for the past 5 years. I have a very strong passion for young people. This morning I went to go grab some breakfast at the same intersection at Washington Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard. And that squeegee kid, this was about 8:15 in the morning, that squeegee kid went to 7-Eleven, got himself a bottle of water and some snacks, and went to go squeegee on at the intersection. What that showed me, that young person is committed to being on time for work. That young person is committed to showing up when they've been asked to show up. And so I think we really have to take a new approach to this squeegee system. And it doesn't need to be an approach of crime. It doesn't have to be an approach of get them off the corner or send them somewhere else. It has to be an approach of, why are they there in the first place? For many of them, in most circumstances, they're the breadwinner in their household. We don't have to talk about how some of our households are broken in Baltimore through whatever means they may be broken by. But for some of them, they're the breadwinner. They probably got a younger siblings that count on them earning money on that intersection so that they can have a meal to eat. They can get some supplies for schools or whatnot. I think one concrete issue or remedy that I want to see and that I will fight for and that I've been fighting for in regards to squeegee kids is that we need to expand YouthWorks. We need to expand our YouthWorks program and make it a year-long program so that young people can have access to jobs all year round. Because like I said, they're breadwinners in their families.
Right.
And so it's either squeegee or it's go do something that's not so safe and so productive for our communities.
Yes, I agree with that. And as far as you mentioned crime and not associating squeegee kids with crime, there's been a proposal put out there about what they're calling a spy plane.
Yeah.
A surveillance airline is what I'm calling it. What are your thoughts on that? This is very controversial.
Yeah, I'm not in support of the spy plane. Now, what I want us to have an honest conversation about is, yeah, we've got a public safety issue in our city. We are knocking on the doors of 300 homicides. We can't get around that.
Again?
Again, thank you for saying that. But we cannot come up with these knee-jerk reactions of a system that has not been really researched enough to provide data of its impact of truly reducing crime. There's no research to back that up. Now, I'm not certain. No. Let me be honest about that. I don't care what the owner says. You're the owner, so of course you're going to cook the books to make it look like it's all this in a bag of chips. But the research is not there to back up the claim that this is going to actually reduce crime.
How do you get the research? How do they get the numbers if they don't put it into use?
So, number one, you have to think about in what realm of public safety is this spy plane going to prevent? When I think about public safety, I think about preventative measures, not reactionary measures. This is a reactionary measure. This plane is going to fly over our city 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it's going to help police officers get a pinpoint location of when a shot's fired, even though we have shot spotter technology that works pretty well.
Let me stop you right there.
Sure.
I don't think that those work, right? Okay, so we have, when we drive in here,
sure,
you got cameras that are over top of the traffic lights, right? Whenever we need the camera to work, when an officer does something, camera don't work.
Right.
Not working, right? So I understand your point, and I understand people that are not with it, right? My thing is that we need something that's separate from the city, that's not controlled by the city, that we could be able to see some of things. The body cameras, whenever we need the images, never works. It wasn't working, didn't cut it on. But if we have a separate agency that's doing it, and I'm not saying that this group is the group, but I mean something that is not controlled by the police department or the city of Baltimore, I think would be helpful. But I understand.
So again, I just want to really reiterate my stance on it, and my stance on public safety as a whole is from a preventative stance. It's from the idea of what measures, systems, support systems do we put in place to prevent crime from happening. One thing that I really talk about in particular is the fact that we need to focus on reentry citizens. We need to focus on people who are returning to society after serving their time in a criminal justice system, and put support systems, housing, education, employment development in place so that when we can crack down on our recidivism number.
Yes,
people who are coming back onto our streets are recidivating at a rate of about 60%. So we always talk about violent repeat offenders. I think it's time we have a different conversation where we differentiate the two. A violent offender is someone who needs to be punished for their violent offense. A repeat offender is someone who needs diversion programs to stop them from committing their repeated offense. That's a conversation that I don't think we're having. It's one that I think we need to start.
Yeah, I like that. And that's different. That is definitely not the way that they look at things currently. Now, the other component for crime is jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
So you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As far as your district, what is the biggest hurdle that needs to be hopped over?
You know, my district is very similar to a lot of districts in the city, and it's on a lot of people's minds, and it's the issue of public safety. It's the issue of living in a safe neighborhood. Each district has its own unique public safety challenge, and for me, we have a very strong problem with opioids. The opioid epidemic, although it's an epidemic now because it affects folks across the county line, but opioids, and we have a very, very tough, we're having a tough time getting a hold on our open air drug markets and our human trafficking, sex trafficking that's going on primarily in neighborhoods where I live in Curtis Bay and in Brooklyn, and open air drug markets that are becoming really real public safety thorns for residents.
Yeah. So you obviously, because of your background in education, that is a big deal to you.
Yes.
And you touched on it earlier. So your quote on the website, it says that as a proud product of our public schools, and a lifelong resident of the 10th District, you believe,
yes,
that safe neighborhoods and excellent schools are non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
So I like those words. How can that be changed?
What I think can happen to change that, again, when I first said that at the beginning of our segment, that's a standard that I want to set. And what I mean by that, when people always ask, I love when you say that, tell me more about what that means. Going back to our budget. In our city, we allocate $500 million to our police department. We are, again, knocking on the doors of 300 homicides for about the 5th year in a row. We've had 4 police commissioners in about 5 years. We have a police department that's under a federal consent decree. The unconstitutional and absolutely unacceptable behavior of our gun trace, the gun trace task force. Yeah. Do I need to go on? We allocate about $200 million to schools. And so to me, the message that sends to our young people is that our city is more prepared to incarcerate you than we are to educate you. And that's a slap in the face.
Yes.
That's a slap in the face to students. That's a slap in the face to teachers. That's a slap in the face to parents. When I say safe neighborhoods and excellent schools are non-negotiable, what that means is when time comes up to negotiate our budget and we're talking about where dollars go in the city, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that our schools get the full funding that they deserve. I don't know if you had an opportunity to catch up on this, but last week the Kerwin Commission, the statewide commission that was commissioned to study public school funding in our state, released its report, and it said that the city of Baltimore is going to receive an additional $500 million over a decade from the state. But the city is going to be required to increase its contribution of $300 million over the decade. When I'm on the city council, I'm going to make sure we're making that contribution every year because our children are more than deserving of it.
That's absolutely true. It's 100% true. My biggest problem with this whole thing is we hear these millions of dollars.
Sure. This
million, that million is put on this. But the accountability part, how do we know that they do it? Mm-hmm. We don't see the evidence of it.
Yeah.
When I go to our old school, I see issues.
Yeah.
I see things. The school looks the same aside from some cosmetic things.
Sure.
It looks the same from when we left. Like I could go, if I had to go to a class, I could pretty much figure out where everything is. It looks the same. How is the idea? Charter schools? Is it what can we really do to get these students prepared? Because I don't think that we're preparing them.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up that question. That's a very specific part of my platform that I really like to share with folks. When you talk about making sure our students are prepared, part of my platform talks about me being a CTE graduate when I graduated from high school. CTE is Career Technical Education.
Yeah, I saw that.
And this Career Technical Education affords our young people the opportunity to study a trade, earn certification, earn the knowledge and the hands-on experience in that specific field. There was an article that came out in the Baltimore Sun a couple months ago that talked about how our CTE program is not really producing the results that our young people deserve. And so when I'm serving on the city council, I want to strengthen our CTE programs so that young people get hands-on work experience in their trade, with the opportunity to get paid for it, because, again, they deserve to be compensated to take care of themselves and their needs, along with the certification that comes with it, because if a young person is on the track to enter straight into a career after high school, let's make sure that young person has the skill, the basic fundamental skill set, so that they don't have to find themselves in a cycle of unemployment or underemployment, which then leads to generational poverty, which then leads to the issue of crime.
Yes.
It's all intertwined.
Absolutely.
I am 100% behind the idea of strengthening our CTE programs. And when I'm serving, that is going to be something that I'm going to work on tirelessly.
Very good. Very good. As far as the reaction from constituents, potential constituents, what's it been like?
In regards to what specifically?
Since you've been campaigning.
It's been mixed.
Because you're young.
It is.
Young. So they may be thrown off.
It's been mixed. The age kind of throws folks off. I always get the question, "Oh, how old are you?" I'm 24. Okay, that's pretty cool. When I tell them my last name, it's like, "Oh my God, you guys are back," and it's like, yeah, but I'm new. So it's been a great experience. Knocking on someone's door or going to a community event and introducing myself as a city council candidate, it's always a learning experience because you learn about the struggles that people face that you may not see it every day in your own lens.
Yes.
Because our people really go through real struggles.
Absolutely.
And you learn that when you sit down and you have a conversation with someone who says, Mr. Conaway, I'm really struggling to pay my bills. And I think we really need a living wage. I want the right to, join a union and organize with a union and fight for benefits and paid leave and all of that stuff. And in regards to employment specifically, one job should be enough. Nobody should have to work two jobs and barely get by with two jobs. Just hearing those issues, hearing the issues of people who are victims, who have had a family member who has been a victim of violence in our city. They themselves have been a victim of gun violence in our city and blessed to survive. It's a lot of hurt and it's a lot of pain in our city, but there's a lot of resiliency in our city. And when I talk to real everyday people about the real issues, we'll get some real results about it.
That's very good. How can people support your campaign?
They can go to my website, www.rayconaway.com. They can click that donate button, make a donation of any amount. We don't care. It all puts fuel in the tank. They can donate. They can come out and knock doors with us. There is strength in numbers. And they can contact me. I'm always willing to sit down and talk with folks and learn more about some of the issues that are facing our city and our residents.
I've enjoyed this conversation. I
Likewise.
really appreciate you speaking with me. Before we go, could you speak directly to your citizens of the 10th District? I'm going to give you the last word.
Sure. We've got an opportunity to really hit the launch button on some new leadership, some fresh ideas, and some innovation in our district. Every day when I'm blessed to serve as your councilperson, I'm going to get up and keep you at the front of my mind and let you know that when I walk through the halls of city council, I'm focusing on real people like you, and we're going to address the real issues together. It's no way I can solve this alone, and so when I stumble, I need you to pick me up. When I get something wrong, I need you to correct me. And when I do something right, I need you to bring me down and let me know that there's still much more work to be due. And so I'm committed to making the quality of life in the 10th District better for everybody because we all live here and Baltimore is all our home. And like I always say, we're going to do it by focusing on real people, real issues. We'll get some real results.
Absolutely. As I said, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise.
Much continued success to you.
Appreciate it.
And everything, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to come back after this.